want to start out by talking about air issues. The Air Force has long been trying to retire older parts of its fleet to free up resources to allow it to modernize elsewhere. For many years, it often ran into opposition from Congress, particularly when it came to the A-10 Warthog. In the NDAA approved last year, there was a breakthrough in allowing A-10 retirements. Do you feel the mood has shifted on Congress when it comes to aircraft retirements?
I think Congress looks at it from an aspect of making sure that we are transitioning from legacy platforms to newer platforms. I think the issue all along has been making sure there's not a gap there. This whole idea to divest, to invest, has to make sure that the curves on retiring aircraft intersect the curve of arriving aircraft and new production coming into the fleet. As you look at proposals made by the administration, retiring 600 plus aircraft, but then only bringing in 240 plus aircraft, I think creates some concern. So what I think Congress looks at is sustainability. That is, are we going to have enough aircraft to meet this nation's needs? And that means not only capability, but capacity. And capacity is the total number of aircraft. We understand as platforms age, they are less capable, but we want to make sure we have enough of them because we know that quantity does have a quality all its own. So I think Congress is very aware of where the balance is, and that is we don't want to keep around legacy platforms that don't have the utility, but we also understand too that we have to be able to keep construction on pace for newer aircraft to where you don't have these big gaps.
We're probably about a little bit more than a month away from the administration and the Pentagon releasing their budget proposal for the coming year. What are you hoping to see from that budget proposal as far as capability levels and the Air Force maintaining the right aircraft balance?
Well, I want to make sure that we're on a sustainable path, especially on production for F-35, because we know sustainability costs are tied to the total number of aircraft that we produce. If you fall below that, we know what happens to the life cycle cost of the aircraft. They go up, so we want to make sure we're staying on that path. So I want to see the signal from the White House that we're staying on track with total number of F-35 aircraft being produced. I also want to see, too, that we're staying on track for sustainability with F-15EX. As you know, we were at 144. The number the Air Force is talking about now has come down somewhat from that, just a little over 100. So I want to understand where is the White House in sustainability on F-15EX, because that does have a role in the future air combat scenarios. So I want to be able to see those elements of what happens across all the different platforms, the F-35A, B, and C. Also want to see, too, what we're doing in sustaining engine modernization. We know the challenges that are going on there. It's going to be quite a spirited competition, which is good. And that competition is going to be good. We want to make sure that as members here on the Tactical Air and Land Subcommittee that we do our due diligence to understand both companies and what they bring to the table in engine modernization capability. So we want to see the proper commitment of resources there, so engine modernization takes place for F-35, that we stay on pace in producing F-35, we stay on pace with producing F-15EX. And another element too is we want to make sure too we have sustainability in carrier air wings. And that means looking at the full complement of aircraft. You know, we still continue to build a few F-18s to make sure we are able to replace those that are aging out of the fleet that don't make sense to do big deep dive service life extension on those aircraft. So those are the things too we would like to see in this president's budget.
Deliveries of new F-35s have been on hold for almost 2 months now, since that very alarming F-35B mishap in Fort Worth. Engine deliveries of new engines, I should say, were also put on hold towards the end of December. Are you and your subcommittee, are you concerned about this, and what are you doing to exercise oversight of this?
Listen, we're always concerned when there are challenges with an aircraft, especially when it comes to safety. So yes, we are concerned. What we want to do is to discover what is the Air Force and Lockheed doing to address the problem. It really is an engine vibration issue there. I think that the engineering staffs, both of the Air Force and Lockheed, have come up with a solution. They're putting that in place. Again, just met yesterday with the F-35 Joint Program Office director, getting a laydown about where they are, what's happening with production. The good news is production continues to take place. They are, though, getting right to the point of having to make sure that they have the solution place set, because if they don't, it can then affect production. What's happening right now is aircraft continue to be produced, they're just not being delivered because the Air Force is waiting to say, okay, what solution sets do we need to put in place to make sure that we fix the problem as it is identified? So I'm confident in where the Air Force is and where Lockheed is in determining a solution for this, putting the solution in place to make sure we can stay on pace with the manufacture and delivery of these aircraft. I think the Air Force is doing the right thing by stopping delivery of the aircraft to the Air Force. But the good news is it's not affecting production at this point. I think with the plans that the Air Force has and with what Lockheed has is it won't affect production. If it goes past the projected date of solution, then it could, but at this point it is not.
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, is coming up on the end of his tenure later this year. Mm-hmm. There's been a few names that have been suggested the White House is considering for his successor. One of the front runners is Air Force Chief of Staff General C.Q. Brown. Mm-hmm. If President Biden were to nominate General Brown, would he find support on the Hill for that choice and from your committee? And what's your take on General Brown?
Sure. Listen, I had breakfast with him earlier this week. I think he is doing an incredible job there, a very challenging set of circumstances. I think he has the wherewithal to perform any job within the Pentagon. And of course, it won't be in the hands of the House in making the confirmation of whoever's going to be nominated as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. But I've been very impressed by General Brown and the things that he's done as Chief of the Air Force, and looking forward and really being one of those visionary and inspirational leaders. He and I shared the stage together at the Reagan National Defense Forum, talking about thinking creatively and innovatively about how do we cross-pollinate the expertise that's in the private sector, especially in areas like cyber and artificial intelligence and quantum computing, those elements that we're going to need in the Air Force. And how do we cross-pollinate? How do we encourage folks that work in industry to maybe become reservists in the Air Force? How do we make sure, too, that folks that are in the Air Force Reserve, how do we encourage them to maybe seek these positions in the private sector so that we have this broader cadre of folks with these skill sets that are going to be necessary for the future? So, he has those sorts of ideas that I think are really what you need in a leader, and how they think and how they look at the challenges we face today and look at creative solutions. All the service branches are dealing with recruitment and retention issues. So if we can look for other ways to broaden the space where they can recruit in and then retain to make sure you're meeting people's needs professionally and personally, I think those are very creative ways to solve these problems. And my conversations with General Brown have been right along those lines, and he's been very much in the forefront to do those things. So I think that's an indication about who he is, how he thinks, and that's really the attributes of a leader, somebody that's looking at solutions, being creative and thoughtful about how to do that, and then looking overall about what's best for the country, what makes the Air Force the most effective air fighting force in the world.
The B-21 Raider stealth bomber had its very public debut
Yes.
Last December. What's your subcommittee's plans for exercising oversight of this important program as it approaches its first flight and potentially a low-rate production contract? And what do you want to see out of it to make sure this important acquisition is on the right track?
Well, on the subcommittee that I chair now, the Tactical Air and Land, that's out of our portfolio. It's in the Sea Power and Projection Forces portfolio. I'll still be a member of that subcommittee, and I have been very much involved with that program from the very onset, in going out to Palmdale, meeting with Northrop Grumman and the Air Force. I think it's been incredibly successful, and I was skeptical to begin with because there were a number of challenges there, but to the Air Force and Northrop Grumman's credit, they have done an incredible job in keeping on track to produce what will be the most advanced aircraft ever built by man. I think it's on track, and we're going to continue to track it very closely, and I will have a role as a member of the Sea Power Projection Forces Subcommittee to look at B-21. But if it stays on track as it has, and I have every reason to believe that it will, I think it'll be an incredibly successful program, and it is one of the cornerstones in our nuclear triad. So we have to get this right, and it has to stay on budget and on schedule. And so far, through a whole variety of complexities, it has done just that.
Congressman, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.